protecting our elderly, our pets, our veterans, and individuals with special needs in our community. On my block alone, I have 12 seniors, 1 veteran, and a family with a child that has Down syndrome, not including everyone's pets that are all suffering due to the noise levels these illegal fireworks exceed when set off. We are frustrated, and it is completely irresponsible of the city to ignore the distress and suffering caused by these fireworks our community is under. It seems as if nothing is being done to deter. I was devastated when I heard that due to budget cuts, Migrant Ed is in La Puente anymore. Migrant Ed went further and further away from the children who need it most in La Puente. My sister is in high school, but she might not have similar opportunities as I did, such as college trips or college scholarships. The only thing the police have done for me is to teach me to fear them, even when I have done nothing wrong. The police in the US have a long history of criminalizing people of color, which happens to be a big chunk of La Puente's community. About 95% LP consists of people of color, according to last year's budget report. I understand that La Puente possibly did not fund Migrant Ed, but I believe there should be more programs like it that are funded by our city. Our city should invest back into its people in such ways, making children excited to learn and find new ways of teaching. I am proud to have been raised in La Puente and call it my home, but I want to feel comfortable in my home and know that I took steps into improving the well-being of my community. Across SGB, people like me are uniting to support and aid the Black Lives Matter movement and ensure we decrease the funding going forward toward public safety and instead invest in our community's long-term well-being. Allocating about 58% of the budget to the police is immoral. Additionally, the City of La Puente has not provided the 2020-2021 budget online for review before a vote is held, which limits the comment period La Puente can exercise to make our voices heard. Please pass a people's budget that diverts away from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department and instead puts the money into the children, youth, and families of La Puente. I suggest following the People's Budget LA, which is grounded in community voices and proposes that police funding be reduced from 54% to 4%. The 2019-2020 budget prioritizes law enforcement. However, I suggest putting our priority in the upcoming fiscal year on investing in community services and health.
I'd like to make a few comments on that. The Migrant Ed program is a federally funded program by the Department of Education that is managed by the state. The goal of the Migrant Education program is to ensure that all migrant students reach challenging economic standards and graduate with a high school diploma or complete a GED. That prepares them for responsible citizenship, further learning, and productive employment. The state youth program funds to identify eligible children and provide education and support services. These services include academic instruction, remedial, and compensatory instruction, bilingual and multicultural instruction, vocational instruction, career education services, special guidance, counseling and testing services, health services, and preschool services. We will refer to the information submitted to the school district. As far as the not posting online the budget, this budget was posted on the City Council agenda page since May 22nd, 2020 for review. Also, as far as the sheriff's budget, if we were to reduce the sheriff's budget to 4%, it would only pay for one special assignment officer for 40 hours a week for the entire year. So we understand people's frustrations, and I know as a council we will be addressing these moving forward. Next speaker.
We received an email from Stephanie Puentes. My name is Stephanie Puentes and I live in La Puente. Please defund the police and invest that money in community services such as housing, parks, education, transit, and more. I care about the budget because this is my community and the budget affects me, my family, and my community directly. Prior to the coronavirus pandemic, I worked in a nonprofit in Boyle Heights where we built and provided affordable housing and other services to the community, including food banks, financial literacy workshops, credit repair counseling, free tax preparation, housing counseling, as well as working closely with street vendors as part of the street vending movement. Prior to working for East LA Community Corporation, I worked for another nonprofit that provided high school students mentorship and resources for them to be successful students and go to college. All of this is to say that there are so many needs facing our community, and programs like the ones I have worked for or volunteered for are actually meeting the needs of the people. However, all of these programs are seriously underfunded. The budget needs to reflect those needs accurately, but that will not be possible unless the police are defunded and invest that money back into the community. We do not need more police. We as a community need to be met where we are. Across the SGB, people like me are uniting to support the Black Lives Matter movement and ensure we regain public safety and instead invest in our community's long-term well-being. Allocating 50% of the budget to police based on the city's proposed 2020-2021 budget is wrong. Please pass a people's budget that divests away from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and puts the money in the children, youth, and families of La Puente instead. Follow the model of the People's Budget LA, which is grounded in community voices and proposes a reduction of police funding from 54% to 6%, with the priority of reinvesting in community services and health. Fund our community, not police.
Thank you for that comment. Next speaker.
We received an email from Christian Fuentes. People only get raises for doing good jobs. As a resident of La Puente, I don't think the police deserve a raise. We need to throw more money at our community and streets. This is a message from a local who will be attending future town hall meetings. Once you guys stop hiding and doing all of these virtual meetings, that shuts down the voice of the people you represent. We will no longer be silenced. This is the last generation that faces oppression. I'm tired of going to other cities and seeing how nice and green they are in OC and living in mine, seeing potential and want to improve with little improvement. The new generation will be more involved. As a first generation, I know I speak for many when I say that our parents were afraid to speak up, even though they had papers, against unjust treatment of US citizens and police. And I'm tired of the oppression. That is why I don't believe the police should be getting more money next year. Regardless, living here 20 years of my life, every time I call the police, no one ever shows up.
I'd just like to comment that it was my hope, and I know that the council's hope, that we were going to be able to be open today, and especially this following week for our city council meetings to allow the public to attend. As we move forward with that intent, naturally getting feedback from the county and attorneys who instructed us that we could not open to the public for council meetings. So, you know, I understand the frustration of those who want to attend. Trust me, we want you here. But until we have direction from the county and the attorneys who are giving direction from the county, we have no other choice but to continue to run these meetings this way. And that's one reason why we're trying to go the extra mile to bring all these technology to you so that you can hear and see what we are doing. So thank you for your comment. John?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor. You know, I know we've been trying to open this up for the public, and, you know, me and you've been on all these meetings here at City Hall. You know, I was trying to, maybe we could hold the meeting and have the meeting at the community center somewhere big, where we can open up for more people to come. These virtual meetings don't work for me. It's just not everybody has a computer. Not everybody has the means to get on here to listen to the meetings. A lot of the seniors don't have computers and don't have a lot of stuff, so they can't get in and listen to the meetings. There's a select group that has this stuff, so, you know, can't wait to get away from these virtual meetings and have real meetings where people can come in and actually talk to us and not email us and ask a question. They hear something, they can't say nothing because they had to email something in. And it's just different when you sit in the audience, you hear someone speak about something, then you might want to talk about that also. But when you have to email something in, you cannot add on to your email after you heard somebody else speak. That might be interesting to you.
And just for further clarification, we could hold this meeting in the Super Bowl and it still wouldn't matter. The size of the venue is not the issue, which I agree with you, John. I mean, I'd love to have it be the issue, but it's not. So the issue is that per the county regulations, we cannot open this meeting to the public. So we will continuously press the county to start allowing these meetings to be held with the public involved. Dan, were you trying to comment or?
No, I just thought after what John said, you know, the reason we have these meetings virtually is because we're required to. The governor made a proclamation, and also the county. I sit on several boards, the student board, sanitation district, they all have virtual meetings because it's a requirement. It's not because we want to, not because we don't want people there. Never please understand, even when we open city council to the public, it'll be very limited seating because of social distancing. So where you might be able to get 100 plus people in the room, you'll probably get 15 or 20. And that's going to be an issue also. But that's the sort of things we have to do to keep everybody safe and move forward. Thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, bye.
What I would also like to add is that that is why it is so important as, let's say, even if we do reopen chambers, that we continue to facilitate accessibility and transparency for the public. And we need to enhance the way we present meetings. Meetings in person isn't always feasible. Maybe people were driving on the way home and they would like to participate, but because of the distance where they're at, or maybe they have obligations at home or children, there's many reasons why people cannot come to City Hall. So we need to work harder to facilitate that accessibility for the public, whether or not there's social distancing. This social distancing can go on for the next few months. It's not until next year. So we cannot let that limit us to support what the public demands. Even if you're sitting, for a lot of people are connected via their telephone, so it may not be necessary to have a computer. Most people have smartphones. So we need to give the public a little more credit in in the way that they choose to participate and connect. So we need to support their needs and we need to hear what they have to say. So if they want us to be more accessible, we need to make that happen. Thank you.
No, I agree. Thank you.
And so,
Yes, Dan?
I just wanted to say that, therefore, Lewis and myself have been working with staff on the communication ad hoc committee to enhance the way these meetings are available to people, virtually, through their computer, through their phone. And so this meeting tonight is the second generation. We're working on a third generation. I know our city clerk and our IT manager are working on those. So we hope to have those in place soon as a supplement to being able to have people come to City Hall.
Thank you, Dan. Any more speakers?
Yes, we received an email from the SGB Progressive Action. This is San Gabriel Valley Progressive Action. We are a grassroots SGB coalition of La Puente residents and residents across the SGB dedicated to amplifying the demands of the Black Lives Matter movement. Across the SGB, young people are demonstrating in the streets and uniting around the call to defund the police. Budgets are moral documents. Allocating 51% of the budget to police isn't standing on the right side of justice. The needs of La Puente's youth, La Puente's Black community, La Puente's most vulnerable residents need to be addressed and included in the budget. La Puente needs to drastically defund the budget for the Los Angeles County Sheriff and reimagine what public safety could look like. We urge you to listen to all of the community-based groups in La Puente who have been leading this conversation. We implore you to follow the model of the People's Budget LA, which proposes a reduction of funding in police from 54% to 6%, and a reinvestment in universal aid and crisis management, built environment, and reimagined community safety. We stand in solidarity with the Black community in La Puente and their demands for transformational change. Pomona demands courageous leadership to deliver us a people's budget that establishes a new line item in the La Puente budget that is specifically for Black family services, defunds the Los Angeles County Sheriff budget that makes up 51% of our total budget, significantly invests in La Puente children, youth, and families instead.
Thank you for that comment. Any more comments?
So that is it for email comments. We do have some additional comments via the Teams chat.
Mayor, the first is Diana. What percentage of our city's budget will be focused on education, schools, resources, technology, supplies, etc.?
As we go through the budget, that'll become more clear, those numbers. So we'll address that during the budget process.
Next is anonymous. Will questions posted here be answered?
To the best of our ability, we're going to answer every question we can. I mean, you know, we're transparent here, and you know, all I can say is listen to the meeting and decide for yourself.
Next is, can whoever speaks please name themselves for those of us on the teams? I just see the PowerPoint slide and have no idea who is speaking. Next is Ricardo. On the May 7, 2020 council meeting, the council went over an item about the CARES Act where cities have received money. La Puente has been allocated over $200,000. Where will the money go? El Monte, for example, gave the entire sum directly to the community by giving direct checks to low-income renters.
Troy, do you want to touch on that here?
I would defer to John on this one.
John,
John, do you want to just comment on that CARES Act?
for the allocation, this has come to council already. This is Bob Lindsay, city manager. This has come to council and we have discussed in council meetings previously the allocation. We have allocated some of it, but I believe at this point, some of it is still not fully allocated and it's going to take some direction from council.
Right. Mayor Konakis, John DeMario, Development Services Director. As the city manager indicated, the city council previously gave some direction to allocate a portion of these funds to business assistance. So we're currently putting together those guidelines, parameters, criteria to roll that out here. That's going to be coming to the city council, I believe, at the July meeting. And as the city manager indicated, there is still some additional unprogrammed funds. And when we came to the city council previously, we explored or introduced to the council for your consideration about some type of assistance program for renters and things like that. So that will be coming to you at your July meeting. I believe it'll be the first meeting in July.
Thank you.
Next is anonymous. I understand that it is important to reduce the police funding to that extent or percent. However, it does not look like much was reduced even with the events that are going on right now.
Again, I can just say that during the budget process, we will address that issue.
Next, can whoever speaks please name themselves for those of us on the teams. Can whoever mention that the budget has been posted since May, please specify where it has been posted. I have clicked all over lapuente.org and cannot see the city budget for 2021 anywhere. The closest I got was the finance department page, which lists fiscal year 2019-2020 as the last budget document.
Mr. Mayor, this is Troy Brunkley, Director of Administrative Services. The budget has been posted on the City Council agenda page. That's where you can find it. If you click on the agenda and you scroll down to the item name, it's a hyperlink, and you click on that, it will take you directly to the budget that was presented to Council on May 26th, as well as what is being presented this evening.
Next speaker.
Next is Denise. Additionally, the link to the Teams meeting seems to have been obfuscated. A link to it was not on the calendar event on lapuente.org. I only found it through a nonprofit's Instagram page.
Cheryl, did you want to address that?
Mayor, this is City Clerk Garcia. That information is available on our agenda that we post, which is also posted on the website. And it's every way to participate in the meeting, including the link for the Teams Live.
Thank you for that answer. Dan?
Yeah, I would just say that anybody that has an issue or the inability to access the budget, other documents or information about the city, please pick up the phone and call City Hall at 626-855-1500. We've had people even though City Hall just telling people have been there throughout this pandemic, and they're more than willing to help you locate whatever information you're trying to find. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Next is Diana. What percentage of the city's budget will be focused on education? Can you address the layoffs happening within the district and the new multi-million-dollar elementary school that is also happening within the district?
Hey, Kelly,
Yes, Dan?
can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
Education in the city of Rockland is not under the jurisdiction of the city council or the city of Rockland, but it is jurisdiction of the 3 school districts that have schools in Rockland, Osceola Rockland Unified School District, Baskin Unified School District, and Rowan Unified School District. Some of the decisions for education, schools, facilities are all made by other boards, and we have no more input into those, although we do make recommendations. Those are made by the elected board of those school districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next speaker.
Next, Anonymous. Why do we need such a high portion of the funding going to the police? Does this lower crime rates in our community?
Now, this is Councilman John Solis. I would just say most of that money goes to the sheriff's department. I'll ask the city manager, how many cars do we have going through the city per day?
We have approximately 6 patrol units, but in addition to that, we have our SAO teams, which are 8 deputies and a sergeant, who frequently change shifts based on whatever the crime levels are and whatever the mission is. Take, for instance, we already brought up fireworks and things like that in this meeting right here. They're out on special task force. I won't say when they're out because that would alert some people who they're trying to catch. But they're out on special task force along with a complete code team who's now out on special task force for that. So to answer that question, it'd be about 6 units per day, varied on shifts.
That's 24 hours a day, right?
24 hours a day, plus a traffic unit that is also out there, plus an additional traffic unit that is actually an SAO unit, which is a motorcycle.
Hopefully that answers the question. What's the next question?
Next is Ricardo. Can you elaborate on the code enforcement services budget increase to 320,000 from 287,000 under personnel services? Why is that? Fees to residents is not a good idea to get money as revenue because that is hardworking money from residents.
Again, when we get to that line item in the budget, we can address that, make sure that we remember that question as we move forward. Next question.
It's from Anonymous. Can you demonstrate on the screen how to access the city council meeting agenda?
Cheryl, no.
We're not set up for that for this meeting, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we're not set up for that at this meeting, and hopefully as we move forward, we will be able to do that. It's a well-noted question. Thank you.
Next is Diana. If you cannot directly answer percentages on the budget, what are the main focuses that will be addressed from the budget? What should we expect as citizens to see in our community? Any changes, improvements, cuts that we should all be aware of since we value transparency?
I think that for myself, one thing I will be looking for is, and I've mentioned it in other meetings, none of us know where monetarily where we're going to be next week, next month, next year with government funding. We don't know what we're going to get from the state. We don't know what we're going to get from the county. Everything's a guesstimate. We feel that we've made a pretty good guess. And as we move forward, when we finally adopt a budget, when we move forward, it is my goal, and I think the goal of the council, to again, monthly, get updates on our budget predictions, where they are, and address that sooner than later. And we might have to make more cuts. We might have to access funds. We don't know at this time. So these are uncharted waters. I know that from what I'm hearing, the governor of the state, he is making his predictions on not getting any funding at all from the federal government, which again would create billions of dollars of cuts statewide. It's my understanding the assembly is basing their budget on getting tons of funding from the federal government. So depending on how you're looking at your budgets, everyone's approaching it in a different way. So we are going to be as transparent as possible. Our goal is to pass a budget, a balanced budget, which is my understanding that's what staff's bringing forward. And again, just because you pass a budget does not mean you cannot make changes to the budget. So that's going to be my approach, and hopefully the council is looking at the budget the same way. Next speaker.
It's anonymous. Couldn't hear anything Dan is saying. Can someone translate or get him a better mic, please? I wanted to know about the new elementary school.
Dan, could you hear that?
That was hard to hear.
The caller said that it was very hard to hear you, and they asked us to get you a new mic. And they'd like additional information on the new school, the new elementary school.
I'm sorry they couldn't hear me. I'll try to speak up. Councilman Holloway. As I indicated about the new school, that's something we have no oversight of. That is authorized by the Hacienda Puente Unified School District Board of Education. They have their own funds. They get funds from the state. They also had several bond issues that they got approved. And at their last meeting, they approved building a new school in Hacienda Heights. Again, that's something the city of Rockland, the Rockland City Council has no oversight, no input into, and it's something that you would need to address with your local school board members or any of the members who currently are elected at large.
Thank you, Dan.
And hopefully that was loud.
Next speaker.
Can someone elaborate what the supplemental law enforcement is?
This is Troy Grumpley, Director of Administrative Services. The Supplemental Law Enforcement Services is a allocation. It's typically around $100,000 that we get from the county, and that money is transferred to the general fund to offset the sheriff's contract.
Next speaker.